Well, now to a story we have been following out of Florida. The plastic surgeon accused of killing an attorney after a lengthy and volatile legal battle will be held in jail until his trial is complete. That judge deciding today, Dr. Tomasz Kołakowski, is a flight risk for what's been found in his alleged murder bag. That includes $2,800 in cash, a syringe containing a paralyzing drug, as well as his Polish passport. Kołakowski is accused of killing attorney Stephen Causey in the bathroom of his law office back in March over a legal battle over medical billing. His body still has not been recovered, but investigators do believe it was dumped in a landfill. So joining us now, NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber. Jesse, thank you so much for your time. We talk a lot about this defense of, no body, no crime. Prosecutors, we know, have not found Causey's body, but these new court filings, it appears they do have a lot of important evidence.
Yeah, it's like a bread trail. It's like a breadcrumb of trails to basically lead up to him. It's amazing because when you talk about a criminal mastermind, sometimes the people who try to cover it up, they leave the worst evidence behind. So you mentioned a little bit that there was this paralyzing agent that was found on him. There was also a wagon that you would use to transport a body that was found on his person. But let's talk about the cell phone evidence, the surveillance footage that ties him to the dump site where they believe this body was actually deposited. And then in what I believe is probably the worst evidence against him, the victim's DNA is not only found on the law office's bathroom where they think the killing happened, but it's found in the defendant's car and in his garage. And in the garage DNA, the victim's DNA is actually mixed in with the defendant's DNA. So you're seeing how strong of a case this is for the prosecution, and also why this led the judge to ultimately determine that this is not a case where he should be allowed free pending the trial.
Right, and the suspected murder happened after a phone call about this case, about the lawsuit, Possibly that was a contentious phone call. So, Jesse, we talked about that crime scene in the bathroom. It was a gruesome scene in there. There was also surveillance video of the doctor leaving the law firm with that large cart that we talked about. You said the cell phone records. The list really does go on. And as you said, it's almost like this trail of breadcrumbs for investigators. Yep. Or was it that he was just oblivious, in the heat of the moment? Because it seems, or did he just think he could get away with it if he, in fact, is guilty?
Well, I'm not him, thankfully, but I would tell you this. Sometimes there are people who plan or think they're going to plan the perfect crime. And then when they find themselves in that position, they panic. And one thing doesn't line up the way that they thought it was going to line up. And so, again, even in cases where people try to plan for the best, and let's be clear, he is innocent until proven guilty. It's the ones that plan and think that they have everything, mapped out that actually leave the worst trail of breadcrumbs. Now, I will tell you also what I find very interesting about this is we are living in a very different age. We're committing a crime today. We don't have the level of cold cases that we had 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Your cell phone can track you. Surveillance is everywhere. DNA is more advanced than it's ever been. And if we saw anything with the Brian Kohberger case, genetic genealogy is also a way to crack these cases as well. So some people who try to plan the perfect murder will find themselves behind bars.
Absolutely. Last question for you, Jesse. As you said, he is innocent until proven guilty. Prosecutors certainly think he is guilty. They want the death penalty. How ironclad does the case have to be for that?
So, look, it's impossible to predict. I'm not surprised they went forward with the death penalty the same way I'm not surprised they went forward with the death penalty in the Kohberger case. But if we learned anything from the Parkland school shooter case, which was the most recent, death penalty case of note, you can have one of the most horrific crimes imaginable, and a jury will come back and say life in prison. So they can put forward as much evidence as they want. They could talk about how vicious this crime was, the aggravating circumstances, but at the end of the day, the jury could come back and say life in prison is the more appropriate punishment.
Yeah, we will certainly see what happens. NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.